Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to DreamBank's social channels. My name is Andy Frisky. I am a senior dream curator at DreamBank. I'd like to welcome everyone who is tuning in today, whether it's your first time here or you're a seasoned veteran at this point. For those of you who aren't familiar, DreamBank is a free community resource that is put on by American Family Insurance. The whole reason why we exist is to help inspire people to pursue their dreams. And in large part, we do that through the programs that we offer. So we have 9 distinct event series at DreamBank that really try and appeal to as many different dreamers as possible. So this event today happens to fall under our careers series, but we also have business-related activities. We have fitness-related events, family-related events. We have events in Spanish, but really, again, trying to cover the gamut in terms of all different sorts of types of dreams. I will go ahead and put a link in the description to our website so you can kind of see what we have upcoming. But if you're viewing this on our Facebook page, go ahead and press that events tab. That'll give you a good, concise list of everything that we've done up until this point, pretty much starting the end of March 2020 virtually. We've been streaming all of our events virtually since the pandemic. And then also it'll give you a good insight as to what we have coming up the end of this year, as well as the beginning of next year. But let me go ahead and hop into introducing our featured speaker here today, AJ Kruse. So AJ is the concept illustrator at humanworks. And AJ needs to make things make sense, not only for himself, but for you as well. This quality, along with his knack for joining backstage design and front stage presentation, has guided him through a dynamic professional career that began in elementary education and has continued in organizational development. After making the leap to corporate education, AJ led learning and development at 2 Milwaukee area businesses before embarking with 3 remarkable colleagues to launch humanworks. What else makes AJ tick? Well, faith, family, and Friday night pizza. humanworks is a Milwaukee-based consultancy that elevates organizations through a people-focused lens, crafting custom talent solutions around core values and people touchpoints, strategic planning, and leadership development. Today, he's talking about the contentment ethic. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to AJ. AJ, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who's joining us live and watching, maybe not live after the fact. So it's great to be back at DreamBank. It's kind of fun to say being back. Last month, I got to come for the first time and talk about authoring your personal core values. Today, we're going a different direction. So just what Andy said, you can see it on your screen. We're going to talk about this thing called the contentment ethic. It's a little different. But here's what we're really going to do today. Just 2 things, everybody. What we're going to do today is I want to show you that this thing, this contentment ethic, it is a critical skill for leadership. It's just critical, especially today. So first, I want you to see contentment ethic as really a critical leadership skill. Second, I want to start helping you build your contentment ethic. That's where I'm going today. So you've got a little work to do. As far as supplies go, what you might need to follow along today, it's really easy, everybody. What I would love for you to have is a piece of paper and something to write with. And if you're just sitting at a computer or you're just on your phone or something, you can use whatever blank document you can pull up in your phone or your computer that way too, if you want to be totally digital. But it's really just a place to jot down a few things. I'm going to encourage you to do that while we go along and while we talk about building your contentment ethic. So as far as, what you can walk away from today with besides building a contentment ethic is I've got a tool for you. It's going to come up later in our conversation. It's called the Contentment Survey tool. So watch for that later in our talk. It's going to come up. It's going to be shared later. So don't lose the opportunity to grab and nab that tool. But here's how I'm going to start today. I'm going to start with a question. Might be a little bit of a different question for you too. So I'm really curious about this, everybody. What are bad words at work? That's what I want to know. What are bad, not inappropriate words. So stop right there. I'm not asking for inappropriate words you would never say around your mom or grandma or aunt or something like that. I'm not talking about those words. I'm talking about words you don't want to hear at work. I'm looking for those words, everybody. What's a word you don't want to hear at work? If you are following along live and you want to chat in a thought, words that you never want to hear at work, chat it in. Send that thought along, but I'll give you a few examples while you think, okay? Here's maybe a word or some words or a phrase you might never want to hear at work. Can I have a word? Have you ever heard that at work? Has somebody at work ever come and said, hey, excuse me, can I have a word with you? I don't know about you, but anytime I've gotten, can I have a word? Nothing great usually follows that. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't think can I have a word is all that great. Just checking my chat, glancing over there. Not meeting expectations, man. Yeah, Madeline. Yeah. Oh, I hate hearing that at work. It's not what you want to hear at work. What about this one? Taking time away. For some reason, when someone's gone and it's when people say, oh, they're taking time away, maybe you go, oh, what is it? What's really going on? Here's another one that leaders might hate to hear, the word fault. Anytime the word fault comes in, it seems to be tied. I don't know. Whose fault was that? Who's at fault here? It's sort of a blame word. I don't know. Something leaders might not want to hear too. There are a lot of examples probably out there. And thanks to those of you who chatted a thought in that way. What about this word? What about content? Not content as in like the stuff we make and put out there into the world, but content, like contentment. That doesn't really seem to fit with work, doesn't it? Does it? I mean, being content, isn't that the last thing we need at work, to be content? I don't know. It just doesn't seem to fit at work. I'm going to focus on that word content and contentment today. I'm going to focus on why maybe we don't feel like it fits. But you heard me right when I kicked off. I think contentment is absolutely critical to leadership skill. Before we get to contentment, I've got to talk about the second word in my title. I've got to talk about ethic, okay? We don't talk a lot about that word, but I've got to get it out there. You know, when we talk about an ethic, what we're really talking about is a set of principles, values, beliefs that relate to somebody's conduct, that guide actions. So I simplify that by saying this. Beliefs that drive actions. That's what an ethic really is. And we've all got that. In fact, we're probably more used to hearing it around a different ethic altogether. You're more used to, I'm sure, hearing work ethic, or I would assume you are, because I've heard about work ethic my whole life, everybody. So I've got a question for you again, and it's chat for all those of you who are following along live. Here's the question. When I say work ethic, what does it mean to you? What picture does your mind paint? So if I said, close your eyes, think about work ethic, what picture's there? I'm really curious about that. We've all got one. I could tell you about my picture while you're thinking about that, or if you want to contribute any thoughts to the chat too, I'd love to see what picture your mind paints. Here's what I think about when I think about work ethic. I close my eyes. I'm back as a kid at the house I grew up in, and I'm watching my dad work in our yard. That's what I see. Now, my dad, he didn't work in yards for a living. My dad worked in aviation for a living. My dad was a pilot. He flew around. So when I picture him, I picture long nights, leaving really early in the morning before I got up. But even on his time off, I picture my dad working on then the house or around the yard. He's just someone who never stops. That's the picture I have in my mind's eye when someone says, paint me a picture of work ethic and what that means to you. And I'm seeing some chats come through too. Working hard to prove your worth. I love that, Christy. Thanks. Dedication, the calendar, the schedule, that regiment. I love it. Those match the picture of my dad for me. Maybe you have someone that popped in your mind when I asked you to think of work ethic. Maybe it was someone else in your life. Maybe it was the person who taught you work ethic. Here's the truth about ethic, okay? Here's the truth. Every ethic has a lesson. And this is what the lesson of work ethic is. I believe it can and will be done. That's the lesson of work ethic, isn't it? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. It can and it will be done. That's the lesson. So those pictures that your mind painted, I saw a few more pop in. Love seeing those. Thanks. Someone who's working long hours at a desk. Absolutely. Oh, you'd like to change your idea of it? Well, maybe I've got something for you that could change. We might have a stereotypical picture and just say, well, it is that long hours at a desk, or it is that pouring sweat over something and never giving up. It could be all those. Some people have challenged me on this and said, well, what about work smarter, not harder, AJ? What about that? And I'd say, that's fantastic. But to me, it's still work ethic. It's just getting more efficient with your work ethic, maybe. It's still getting things done. When I said what an ethic is, I said it's the beliefs or the values that drive action. So there are some beliefs that back up this main lesson. So I want to run you through those. I want to kind of see what you think. If you're if your beliefs around work ethic match up with the way I look at work ethic, here are a couple of the beliefs. There are 4 I want to share with you. These beliefs that drive this work ethic. One of the beliefs right off the bat is this: maximum effort. And that's not to steal a line from a superhero movie or Deadpool or anything like that. Maximum effort, that just means anything less than my best won't do. That's one of the beliefs that drives work ethic in my mind. Anything less than your best won't do. The next one is exceed expectations. That's a belief to me that goes with work ethic. It means the effort's going to continue till I get you beyond what your request was. So if I personalize that, it means my effort. I'm going to give effort until I've crossed the finish line and then some. It's going to go beyond what you've asked of me. That's real work ethic, right? And then the third belief, priorities, right? Work first. Work is your top priority. That's what that means. Work is my top priority. It should be yours. That's what a work ethic says. And last but not least, and this is an important one, continuous improvement. Okay, continuous improvement. This one, what does this really say? What does this belief really mean? To me, it means you're never done growing. There can always be more, and things can always be better. Okay, again, there can always be more. Things can always be better. So some people look at this as, the work is never done. I don't know if you've heard that one. Or there's always work to do. But really what this comes down to at bottom line is the pursuit of anything, the pursuit of any improvement. It's the idea that things can always be better. And we should try to make them better. When I look at big picture work ethic, I think, a work ethic banishes inertia. I'll say that one more time. It's kind of an interesting way to put it. But, a work ethic banishes inertia. It means when that sitting still, an object at rest is going to stay at rest. We get rid of that. We're going to get moving and never stop moving. Okay. So it's going to banish that still inertia and move us and never stop moving. So my question to you is, of these 4 sort of beliefs, at least my beliefs that build work ethic, is there one that stands out to you? Is there one that you gravitate towards and say, I sort of believe that. I live that. That's part of my personal sort of almost like values, my belief system. I believe and value that part of a work ethic. I think everybody should have that. I know I want to have that. So I want you to think about that question. Is there one that stands out to you? There is one that stands out to me as different. Sort of like one of these things is not like the other. I'm seeing, thanks for the chat. I'm seeing they all speak to you. Good. Okay. I got you. Like I said, I've got one that I think it stands out a little bit differently than the other 3. I'm going to talk about that one. You might already know the one I'm thinking of. It's the last one. I think continuous improvement stands out as utterly essential. And it's different than the others. Here's why. Think about it this way. Effort. Effort. Okay, I see, Michelle, you're with me. All right. Always continue, always grow. Here's why I think that one stands out to me, that continuous improvement. Effort, go to effort. Effort can wax and wane. Okay, we've been talking so much about burnout lately. I've heard about burnout all the time since the beginning of the pandemic, since the changes that everyone's experienced. I've heard about burnout so much, but can't effort wax and wane? There's a limit to your effort, is there not? It's finite. The second one, expectations, exceeding expectations, that's so subjective. Whose expectations? Mine, yours, whose expectations? And when you stop caring, am I still going to give just as much? So I think expectations, they can be subjective. Priorities, what about the third one? Work first? What about when the priorities shift and change? Well, I thought I was giving all my effort to this, and now I'm giving all my effort to that. But continuous improvement, everybody. That's the only one that I've ever said, like, I really believe in continuous improvement. I think it's essential. Isn't it a good thing? Let's dig into that just a little bit. Continuous improvement, this idea that the growth is never done. There can always be more. Things can always be better. We need continuous improvement. It's a good thing. Entire industries are built on this concept, right? The concept that we can never stop getting better. Look at the education industry. You can never learn enough. You can never know enough. You can never have enough skills. Look at manufacturing. Look at the fitness industry, okay? Not only do I have to be fit, I have to wear something that tells me how fit I am, okay? So it's all built on this concept, this important concept of never-ending improvement. There's a word that I like. There's a concept that I like. It actually comes from Japan. It's this kaizen word. Literally translates to good change. Maybe you've heard it before. It's also actually a business strategy. Okay, it's a competitive strategy in which all employees work together from the top of the hierarchy to the bottom, everyone making small incremental improvements. And the belief is that will just make this entire group, organization, business better as it goes. Well, I love it. I love the idea. I love the concept. As someone who started my world in education, I totally align with continuous improvement. But does it fit your idea of contentment? That's my question back to you. I'm telling you today, I'm going to show you how contentment is essential to leadership. And I'm going to try to help you start building your own contentment ethic. I'm going to try to prove to you why it's so valuable. But how does continuous improvement line up with your idea of contentment? The problem is here that when we think about our work, when we think about our dreams and what we're trying to accomplish, either professionally or personally, this idea of contentment just doesn't seem to fit, because continuous improvement, that's about growth. But contentment, what is that? That sounds a little bit more like being okay with what is, the status quo, maybe. So let's take a look at what you think contentment is. And I'm going to ask you to paint another picture here. So here's the question for you. And I'd love to hear or see and read what your thoughts are in chat. When your mind paints a picture of contentment, what does that picture look like? Okay. When your mind paints a picture of contentment, what does that picture look like? So I can tell you recently, I was sitting with my family. Yes, it was around the holidays. My children and my wife was there, and we were having fun together. And I just sort of had this moment of, reflection internally. I went, wow, this is what it's all about. This is what's most important. This is fantastic. This is just awesome. So to me, that was sort of maybe a moment where I could have said, well, was that contentment? Was that it? Take a look over at the chat. Happy with the way things are. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah. So could you be happy with the way things are? Is that contentment? What other pictures maybe do you paint? Well, I'm going to keep going, but you keep thinking and share with me what's your picture of contentment. Really, I think there are three places you might land with your picture of contentment. Stress at a minimum? Sure. Well, let me start with these three places that you might have landed when I asked you for your take on contentment, your picture of contentment. Maybe your picture was peaceful, serene. I'm looking back at my chat. Calm, relaxed. Yeah. Stress is at a minimum. I call this your happy place. Okay. I call that the happy place view on contentment. Everything's peaceful. Everything's calm. Stress is gone or at a minimum. I'm in my happy place. That's one way to look at contentment. Here's another way to look at contentment. I told you there are three. Do you ever look at it like, we're done? We got there. We're finished. It's over. We made it. Maybe you even pictured like being more advanced in years, being older, and like being retired or something like that. Having the gold watch, metaphorically or literally. I look at that as the accomplishment view of contentment. So you can have that happy place. Everything's good, calm, warm, sunny, bright, or it's over. It's done. I made it. I crossed the finish line. Your happy place or your accomplishment views of contentment. And there's a third. This one's maybe a little bit worse. Okay. This is another take on contentment. It might be more like settling. Okay. What I mean by that is saying, okay, this is my reality, or this is the reality. So I better just get comfortable with it. I better just make some peace with this, whether it's good or bad, whether it was success or failure. Sometimes making peace with a failure or saying it is the way it is could be someone's view of just get okay with it, get content with it. I call that the consolation prize version of contentment. So we've got the happy place, you've got the accomplishment, and you've got the consolation prize views of contentment. But today, I actually want to paint a completely different picture for you. I don't want you to think of contentment on any of those three ways anymore. I actually want you to think of contentment as something you can do, not something you are. Say that one more time. I want you to see contentment as something you can do, not something you are. I want you to see contentment as part of a necessary skill set for a leader, especially right now. And I want you to see contentment not as something that gets in the way of this continuous improvement, but it actually helps create the conditions where continuous improvement can happen realistically. So to get you there, I really think that we have to talk about redefining contentment. Because remember, something you can do, not something you are. That makes it active. So let's talk about contentment. And remember, I said every ethic has a lesson. So we're searching for that. But first, the definition of contentment. First and foremost, let's talk about what contentment isn't. By my definition today, contentment is not satisfaction. That's a little bit of that happy place going on. It's not a passive emotion. You know, you can go through an experience. You can watch a show on Netflix or something and go, okay, did you like it? Were you satisfied? Either I liked it or I didn't. You had maybe a Thanksgiving meal with loved ones recently. Either it was good or it was bad. Either it was okay or not so great. Being satisfied is a passive thing. It happens to you. It's an emotion. So it's not that. The idea of being satisfied is sort of like saying, well, I have enough. I don't need anything better or more, right? It's not that. That's not contentment. It's also not complacency. So let's not get contentment mixed up with complacency. Complacency is a decision. It's a decision you make not to attempt for more or better. It's saying good enough. I'm good enough. That's not contentment. Okay, you see the quote there. It's good enough. But you also see there's no attempt for better. I don't need anything more. It's good enough, I guess. So if contentment isn't satisfaction and it's not complacency, then what is it? Well, I've said it's something you can do. It's not something you are. I really want you to think of contentment as something I have to do and practice. I want you to think of it as an active thing. It's not something that's just going to happen to you. It's not an emotional output like a happy place or accomplishment or a consolation prize. It's a practice. It's a quality. It's an ability. You've got to cultivate it and you have to practice it to get good at it. Contentment doesn't just happen. And just like work ethic, it's built around principles or beliefs that drive you to do the things that make it. So what's that belief? Here it is, everybody. The belief that I think builds a contentment ethic is this: believing you're equipped for the present moment. That's the lesson. You're equipped. You have what you need for the present moment. So yeah, it's about how you live in this moment. In fact, that's the big difference, everyone. A work ethic defines how you're going to give effort over time. It defines how anyone gives effort over time. That's what a work ethic is all about. How much effort are you going to give? How long is it going to take? A contentment ethic tells how someone operates in the present moment. That's what a contentment ethic is all about. That's the big difference. And practicing contentment really gets to this. What does it mean to exercise or practice contentment? It means that I'm fully present and attentive to the issues and the people in the moment with me right now. And I have this mindset of calm, resourceful confidence. I have what I need right now in this moment. I said that a work ethic banishes inertia. A contentment ethic banishes fear. I've got what I need right now. I'm good. I can survive this moment. So to get there, I want you to think about someone you've worked with, someone you know, someone close to you in your life who is excellent in the moment. Do you know anybody like that? How would you describe them? So for those of you joining live, go back to chat. I would love to hear who is that in your world? Who's excellent in the moment and how would you describe them? If you don't want to name names, that's totally fine. But if you want to tell me how you describe them, I would love to know. I'm going to tell you a quick story about, for me, I worked with someone once upon a time in retail management. When I worked in retail management for a brief period of time, I had a leader who was always calm and confident in the moment. And if you've ever worked in retail, you know that not every moment presents you with a great opportunity for calm confidence. Okay, there be sort of panicky moments. There could be difficult moments. But this leader had absolutely no problem doing one thing. It was interesting. They would, when they got a question or someone came to them with a problem, they would just pause. They wouldn't break eye contact. They would look at that person, but they would just think. And they weren't worried about the fact that we were sitting in a what I guess I would call an awkward silence, because they were going to think it through and they were going to give you their best response. It was pretty powerful, but I will never forget working with that leader. They were always calm and confident. That's how they showed, I don't know, this pause, this thought that you sort of lived through together was how I would describe them, as just thoughtful, sort of in an interesting way. That's the person that jumps to mind right away. And just taking a look at the chat, yeah, someone who's present, a good listener, makes you feel like the most important person in the room, and does that the same for all their interactions. Absolutely, 100% yes, Jennifer. Absolutely. I hope you've gotten a chance to know someone who just sort of displays what I'm describing around being equipped for the present moment, that calm, resourceful confidence in the moment, attentive fully to the issues and the people in the moment. I hope you've had a chance to work with someone like that, because what I want to do with the rest of our time is what I promised. I've told you what I believe contentment ethic is. I want to go to the second thing that I said we're going to do. I want to help you start building yours. And to do that, I want to tell you about the beliefs that build this. Remember, when we were at work ethic, we said, here's the lesson, and here are 4 beliefs that are behind that lesson. This lesson that you're equipped for the present moment has beliefs behind it as well. I'm going to give you 7. But this is also where you're going to need your piece of paper, because a contentment ethic doesn't just happen. Contentment doesn't just happen. Remember, it's something you need to do. It's something you do, and it's something you need to practice. It has to be built. Some of the things I'm going to share with you, you might already be doing. So that's fantastic. I think put all 7 of these beliefs together, and you're going to get yourself to contentment. So here are the 7 beliefs. I'm going to lay them all out there really quickly, and then we're going to take them one at a time. So the 7 beliefs that live behind a contentment ethic are right here. We're going to go through them one at a time. One of my favorite questions to ask around building a contentment ethic and strengthening how I handle myself in every moment I occupy with the people and the issues of that moment is, how would you or your leadership change? How would you change if you knew you had everything you needed? How would your leadership change if you knew you had everything you needed? I think a lot of our energy goes to things that we think are missing. A lot of our energy goes to things that are worrisome, troublesome, challenging. How are we going to solve that? How are we going to get that? How are we going to do a good job on that? But how would your approach change if you knew, in this, at least in this moment, I have everything I need to deal with this moment well? So just like work ethic, here are these beliefs. We've got to talk about how to put them into practice. We've got to build up this mindset and this quality. So here we go. This is where you need that piece of paper. Here's where you need something to write with. We're going to break down each one of these beliefs, and you're going to hear and learn a little bit more about it. We're going to start with grateful expression. So, grateful expression. Contentment can't happen without gratitude. The belief here is that gratitude allows you and any individual to create and discover unlimited meaning and value in every situation, in every relationship you have in life. And this is how I would simplify that. When you exercise gratitude, you put that to work in your life, everything you do in life, every relationship, every opportunity, every challenge becomes a get to, not a have to. Life needs to become a get to and not a have to. That's what living in gratitude is all about. I often use the phrase think big, and I put a period between the B and the I, so it's an acronym, BIG. Be in gratitude. Think big about everything you have to do until life turns into a get to and not a have to. The truth is that gratitude fuels a transformative perspective about the world you're living in. There's some wonderful research being done out there about gratitude, about the way it actually can change mindsets. And when a mindset is changed, what else can change in your world? So here's another thing about gratitude. If you're exercising and practicing that with yourself, that's good, but it's not enough. Okay. This is grateful expression. So the real power of gratitude is when you start to share it, when you start expressing it and giving it to others. So, great gratitude research out there, everybody. But here's how I summarize the research that I've read about gratitude. When I share it with you, when I share it with another person, it's like a pro-social dopamine dump, not just for you, but for me, for the sender and for the receiver. It's a very pro-social activity, but yeah, it creates all kinds of good brain chemistry in both of us when I express with authenticity in some way to you what I'm grateful for, whether it be your skills, your abilities, how you've helped me, or how you just are that important relationship and need you in my world. So there's a quote that goes with this that I love to share. It's from William Arthur Ward. You might have heard it before. It says, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. And hey, who of us isn't going to be wrapping presents potentially in the next day or two? And if you're like me, I feel kind of on top of the world because I wrapped a few this week. I got a lot of my wrapping done already. So how about that? What can a leader do? That's what I want to ask next and share a few thoughts with you specifically to do this. Okay. So from the perspective of a leader, now you can be a leader at work, you can be a leader in life, but what can you do to start doing this better? Well, you can build gratitude into the daily routines and habit loops that you have already established in your world. We're going to talk more about that in a second, but look around your world and put some sort of gratitude thought process, some pause in your daily routine already or in the habits you already have to build gratitude in and make it more of a practice for you. One of the specific ways that in a workplace you can do that is you can sort of say, well, I'm going to open every meeting or anything I participate in there with some grateful expressions. So I tried to do that with today's meeting. You might have noticed, you might not have, but we started with, hey, I'm grateful to be back talking with Dream Bank. You can start any meeting that way as well. Great leaders build them into routines that way. And of course, when you're talking about making or expressing gratitude, this seems really, really simple, everybody, but make it direct. Look that person in the eye, whether virtually or in person. In person there, I might change that to say one-on-one. You can make it one-on-one. You could also make it in a group. Not all of us are able to be in person with everybody right now, but be specific. Tell exactly what it is. Here's where you need your piece of paper. Pull it out, because what I would like you to do on the top of that piece of paper is just write my contentment ethic. My contentment ethic. I'm going to give you 7 things today that you can do today to start practicing this whole contentment ethic. We said the first belief is here around grateful expression. So for each of these 7 things, you can number that page 1 through 7, top to bottom. I'm going to give you 7 things to make a note on today. And this is the first one. Going back to that, building gratitude into your routines, I actually want you to think about a physical thing, a place or an object that you're going to interact with every single day. Think of a physical thing that you can interact with every day where you're going to build in a pause for some gratitude. Okay. I just met someone and they told me every time I open a door, that's when I take a quick pause and just try to say sort of think a grateful thought that way. So every time they open a door to a new conference room or open the door to their car, that physical thing will be your gratitude totem. Okay, everybody, will be that physical thing that reminds you of something in your life. So if it's a doorknob or a threshold, like that example I gave you, great. It could be a place. It could be every time you pass through a doorway, every time you look out a certain window or look out any window. It could be a desk that you have to sit at, a room you have to walk through, a light switch, any light switch, a faucet. I don't know. Every time you fill up your water, it could be a thing. It could also be a place, an object. It could be a watch, a necklace, a ring, I don't know, a backpack, a purse, a bag, a coffee mug. Those are usually associated with some gratitude, a chair you have to sit in, anything that can be your drawback to a moment of gratitude. So I want you to think of that physical thing and write it down behind number 1. That's the first thing you're going to put into your world. And if you want to share that, what thing you thought of in the chat, share away. I would love to learn what you decided. This is going to be my spot for gratitude. And as far as the expression goes, yeah, have you found a creative or a helpful way to share gratitude in your life? I build them into my routine. So we start every meeting with gratitude. You might have a different place, but what's going to be your thing? That's what I want you to put behind number 1. That's the first belief around a contentment ethic. Second belief is coming up next. The second belief is called Undiscovered Abundance. And here's what the belief really is. There is more than enough. That's the belief. It's really believing around you there's more than enough. It's actually one of the hardest on the list. I think one of the hardest on the list to do well. It's really the difference of an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Abundance mindset sort of says there's enough, and a scarcity says we're going to run out. So it sort of changes a little bit there. The abundance mindset is where I want you to be for contentment. It's where you need to be for contentment. And here's the trick that I use to make it real for me. Right now, the only thing that I can use is what's available right now. Right now, the only thing I can use is what's available right now. So if I really believe that I'm surrounded by more than enough, it should make me curious and it should make me resourceful. And it should make me ask the question, do I really know what's around me? Do I really know everything that's available to me right now? Or am I sort of falling into the pit of lazy assumptions? Because we do, as human beings, we tend to make some pretty lazy assumptions. If we're not careful, it's just sort of a natural sort of thing we tend to do. We think we know what we need to know, but do we really? So I would just look at it this way. Look at what you are surrounded by. Your own knowledge, your own experiences, your own resources. Do you know everything you need to know? What about the knowledge, the experience, and the resources of the people around you as well? Do you think it's possible they have some strengths, they have some background knowledge, they have some experiences that could help you that you might not be aware of, that you haven't asked about or learned about? It's always fun to be surprised about people you're close to. Like, wow, I had no idea you had that experience. I had no idea you knew about that. What about the people you know even less than the people really close to you in all the circles of your life? So if we have everything we need, if more than enough is around us, let's get curious and let's get resourceful around what those things are. So what do you need to do to find that? Well, you need to ask. You've got to ask. So become a curious person. Ask. And that's one of the things that I want to show you as a tactic that a leader can use here. The best thing about curious people is they're always finding things. So find favorite questions to ask. Make yourself curious. Pattern in some good question. The most successful and curious and resourceful people I have ever met build their day, so your game plan, your to-do list, and their goals, maybe bigger, longer term, maybe goals for the next 90 days, maybe goals for the next 6 months or a year. Build your day and build your goals around questions. So huge. The most, like I said, successful and resourceful and curious people don't write down a goal to say, I will get this done by this date. They write down a question. How can I, how can we, where will we? Those are the kinds of questions that they write. So build your day, build your goals around questions. Also, learn more about the people around you. And there are fast forward and quick tip ways to learn a lot about someone in a short amount of time. One of the tools that my organization uses to do that is called Kolbe with a K. You see it on the screen. The Kolbe A Index. Check it out. It's a brilliant tool. You can learn all about someone's natural strengths and natural methods of problem solving in just a few minutes by taking the Kolbe and taking a look at the results. So that's the tool we use to do that. Maybe you have your own tool to do that, but take advantage of those tools. Learn more about the people around you, and of course, ask, sit down, talk, get to know them. Last but not least, seeking diverse perspectives. What does that mean to me? It means I want to hear from people who disagree with me. I want to hear from the conflict contingent. I want to hear from people who look at this in a totally different way than I do, because that's going to help me. That's going to give me an idea that I haven't thought through before. Strengths Quest. Cool. Thanks for sharing a tool. I just saw it come through in the chat. Fantastic. So these are 3 tips, but I need you to get back to your piece of paper because you've got to write down something as a number 2. So the first thing we had you write down was your gratitude sort of totem. What is the place or thing that you're going to make that reminder to be in gratitude, to think big, B-I-G? The second thing that I want you to write down here is one question you're going to work on getting an answer for today. That question can be small. It can be little. It doesn't have to be some big sort of like gigantic, I need a question for what am I doing here in this world? It's a question you're going to tackle today, okay? Who can help me is one way to start that question. Who knows is another way to start that question. Where can we is another way. How can we? You get the idea. I'm just going to pause for a quick moment and thinking of the idea that you're surrounded by more than enough resources. I want you to write down one question that you can ask and try to answer today. And you can maybe even add a name or 2 to that. What's a place I can go to get that answer? Who's a resource I can go to get that answer? Write down one question you can give yourself today. And then in the long term, everybody, like I said, start building your days around questions because you are surrounded by more than enough. That's part of having a contentment ethic. I'm just giving a little pause for you to think of that question. Let you sort of noodle on that for a second. What question can you answer today? And I'm setting us up for our next belief. All right, 2 down, 5 more to go. We have 7 beliefs that build a contentment ethic. And remember, contentment, it's all about not how I feel, but what I can do. It's a practice. It's something I'm going to be able to do to be strong in every moment, to be a calm source of resourceful confidence for anybody else in the moments that I live through. The third belief is liberating consistency. Here's what the belief really breaks down as: when common activities are completed in a predictable pattern, energy is preserved for innovation. That's kind of a mouthful. The way I look at it is consistency is a 22nd century skill. Consistency is something all of us need to have going in our lives, no matter who we are. And there's a quote that I love that backs this up. It's from Isidore Sharp. He was a former chairman of Four Seasons. Love this quote. He said, "Systemize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional." Systemize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. What does this really mean? It means that good systems in our life save us energy. Good systems in our life save energy so we can put that energy to the really, really important stuff. So maybe you've got some systems in your life. I hope you do. I hope you have some really strong routines and systems that like when it's time to handle this is just the way we do it. The strongest teams and companies and cultures always have a specific way. They have a way. They have a way of doing it there. So you've got to build your own team's way if you're a leader. And it's a good place to start, can be yourself. But if you're the leader of a team, start building your own way. You're certainly the leader of your life. You're the captain of your ship. So build in routines for your own life as well. What does that look like? Well, common formats, common tools, common approaches to things, even common language can help you build that way. Maybe you found the foundation that, or either at work or in your personal life, that you think works really, really well. Maybe you have a way of doing things that works for you, so you don't have to give it a second thought or any more energy. There's always a balance here. You don't want to be too process heavy, of course. There needs to be some flexibility so people can do things their way. But one way that people sort of build in their way is the third thing I want you to write down on your piece of paper. We're going to do a little exercise. It's going to be really quick and short, but it's called heuristics. What that really breaks down to mean is you can give a name or a short phrase or a few words to a larger lesson or a more meaningful learning. Okay, so giving a short name or a phrase to a larger lesson or a meaningful learning or even a process or a thing that you do every day. I'll give you an example from my world, but before I do, I want to tell you that's the third thing to write down on how you can start building your contentment ethic. Think of a major life lesson you've gone through. Think of a process or a system, a routine you've built up in your own life, and give it a 1 or 2 word name. Give it a short little name. Name it. And that's the start of heuristics. That's what I want you to write on your piece of paper. Here's one. If I'm filling out that piece of paper, here's what I'm putting on my list. It's a routine that my family has built into our life called the 10-minute tidy, or TMT, if we want to be really slick as parents. A 10-minute tidy is exactly what it sounds like. Freeze, time out, stop what you're doing, kids. Stop what you're doing, family. Doesn't matter who you are, mom, dad, kids. It's time to stop and spend 10 minutes picking this place up. We have created a hurricane. So when I just say, hey, 10-minute tidy, my kids know, like, shut it down, turn off the electronics, come inside, maybe stay outside if there's stuff in the lawn, but we're taking 10 minutes to clean up our world, reorganize our world. And all I've got to say is 10-minute tidy. In fact, when my kids have come and gone, but what about, I usually just say, hey, guys, 10-minute tidy. And they stop asking questions and go, okay, we know the deal. For the next 10 minutes, we know exactly what needs to happen. That's one tiny example of heuristics in my world where that's what it's named. Everybody knows what they do. I hope you can use that, by the way. 10-minute tidy. You might have found something at work, a lesson, a learning. I've talked to some powerful leaders who have said, you know what? When I say these few words, that's a lesson this leadership team learned. And I'm pointing out as like a warning sign, hey, let's not fall into the same pit again. Let's avoid the same mistake we've made in the past. I've listened and heard really strong leaders use that with their leadership teams. Hey, this is another situation like, and they name the name. And then everybody in the team knows, oh, we don't want to fall into that mistake again. If you can build some heuristics or name around one lesson, one process in your world, you've got a head start. Thinking bigger for leadership in a team. One way that leaders or entire companies tend to work with this is they build a way of working or they use their way of working. They start with a strong foundation. So you see the letters EOS. That comes from a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Many of my organization's clients use the operating system created in that book and that writing as their own foundation. That's what they do. So they start with someone else's foundation that works really, really well. It's compatible with really any business that has, wants to grow and get everybody on the same page, everybody rowing in the same direction. So that's a tool we use a lot and see a lot of people take a strong foundation and then build on it and make it their own. Another thing that leaders can do is look at the routines in their team and start with the things that always have to happen, those consistent existing routines. How do we do strategic planning? How do we do meetings? Let's make one way of doing that so nobody has to think twice about it. Save some of that energy. And of course, finding tools and language that already works and just adding on to it. That's what it's sort of all about that way. So those are things a leader can do. What did you write down for number 3? You named something. You named a life lesson you've learned, or you named a routine in your life to start building your own way of working, because that's really what it's all about. All right, on to the next belief that builds a contentment ethic, making you strong, calm, confident in every moment you occupy, is having a decisive vision. How could you be content if you didn't have a decisive vision set and established? You know where you're going and why. So here's the belief. A clear vision removes distraction. A clear vision removes distraction. You need to have one. You've got to have one. It's going to bring so much confidence to you, because when you're making decisions, you've got a vision to weigh every decision you make against. You know where your team is going. You know where you're going, and you know why. All those things come before the how. We spend a lot of our time, energy, and effort worrying about working on how. How are we going to get there? But start with where we're going and why we're going there. Start with where you're going and why you're going there, because the how, well, the how is going to change, everybody. You're going to work on some strategies, whether it's at work, whether it's in your personal life. You're going to take on some strategies and you're going to use a how for a little while. You're going to find out what works, and then you're going to adjust. So this is all about knowing where you're going and why you're going there. And you know what that does? It removes anything that distracts from that clear vision. It helps you be decisive. So think for yourself. Here's a question for you. Here's something for chat. Can you connect what you did this morning? So this session started at noon Central Time. What did you do this morning? Can you connect that? I love asking this question. Can you connect that to your vision for yourself, your personal vision for yourself, or your vision for your team at work, in the workplace? Whether you're building a dream from scratch, so you're working as an entrepreneur right now, whatever that sort of vision is that way, whether you're part of an existing organization that has established vision, or whether you're just talking about your own personal vision. What did you do this morning? And can you draw a line over to what that vision is? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's about JFK, and it takes us back to 1961. There's this really cool story. It's really quick, I promise. JFK was touring the NASA headquartered building in 1961 because, of course, he made some big promises. There were some big goals set. And he noticed a man standing holding a broom, presumably a custodian or a janitor, standing in the area that he was touring. And he stopped and he said, well, what do you do here? And the infamous answer was, not infamous, the wonderful answer, was, I'm helping put a man on the moon. How about that? The person pushing the broom at NASA's headquarters in 1961 knew how what they did connected to what the vision was. I'm keeping this place clean. I'm keeping this place safe. I'm keeping this place operational so that we can put a man on the moon. So I'm helping put a man on the moon. How cool is that? That is being part of a clear vision. How great was that team if everybody on that team knew the exact same thing? You know, when you think about what you did this morning, you go, okay, how did that really connect to the vision? I can look at my own stuff. Hey, I had a client call with a client, and was that related to humanworks vision about, becoming a top national consultancy and working with companies around their people touch points? Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be able to connect that. Here's what I want you to do on your paper, everybody. I want you to write down one thing you need to be true in the next 12 months. one thing you need to be true in the next 12 months, either for yourself professionally, for your team, or for yourself personally in your personal development. What's got to be true in the next 12 months? What has to be true in the next 12 months? Write that down. It doesn't have to be big or perfect. It can be small. You can change it later if you want to. It's yours. Okay, just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be big or perfect. You can change it if you want to. What's one thing that you can write down, something you maybe want to complete, something you want to achieve? Maybe it's just something you want to have or purchase or put in your life or find. Now, right behind it, write why. Because where you're going and why you're going there has to be down before you figure out how. So start with that. That's what's got to go on your paper. One thing that has to be true in the next 12 months and why you want it to be true. While you're thinking, while you're writing, take a look at this. Here are some things that a leader could do within their organization. I mentioned the book Traction and the entrepreneurial operating system with the last belief. But the V/TO that you see on this, that's a tool from that operating system. It helps leaders get their strategic plan down onto 1 to 2 pages. It's a really powerful tool. If you can get your strategic plan, either professionally or personally, down onto 1 to 2 pages, starting with where you're going and why, and then getting into the how, that would be a really powerful step. So that's a really important thing, to get a clear, decisive vision. Also, sharing it out, discussing with, painting that picture for other people is so critical. So if you've got someone that can hold accountable, if you're leading a team that needs to hear that, so they're all aligned, just like that janitor from NASA, paint the picture for everyone so they know, repeat it, say it again, say it every day. Find a way to paint that picture frequently for everyone else so they know exactly. So everybody's rowing in the same direction. And one thing that can really help you do that is establishing core values and ground rules. Hey, this is who we are. This is who we are. So that's going to help you get how we're going to get there. So if this is who we are, how are we going to do it? This is who we are deep down. We know where we're going. We know why we're going there. We know who we are. Now let's figure out how together. Those are all really powerful steps in creating that decisive vision, so that when things come up, you can be really calm, confident, resourceful in the moment, in that content moment that you're living in, that contentment ethic you're building, because you've got a filter for everything that's thrown your way. Hey, how does this line up to my vision? That's what gives you that calm confidence in the moment. All right, everybody, we're through 4. That means we're on the downside of the hill. We have 3 more beliefs that I want to share with you that help you build a contentment ethic. What have we done so far? I'm just going to sort of halftime, sort of pause and breathe moment here for you. We started with gratitude, right? We started with grateful expressions. I actually asked you to think about and write down what's a spot, a thing, a place in your world that can get you back to a moment of gratitude or a thought of gratitude every day, and encourage you to share and find ways to express that in the routines in your world. Then we went back into a really cool place around abundance, right? Finding that, being curious and finding that wonderful abundance all around us. So what do we ask you to do? We asked you to write down a question that you can build the rest of your day off of today. Where do we go after that? Well, we went into consistency, liberating consistency, and the need for having those strong routines in our life to free our energy up for the more important things in that moment. If we have consistent practices, we've got confidence in the moment. Yeah, I know how we handle this, and I've got the energy to put toward it. So what did we ask you to do? We asked you to name a lesson, practice some heuristics. Name a lesson or a routine in your life that you can use one word to say, this is what's happening right now. That's going to save you energy. And you see it on the screen. Number 4 is right here, that decisive vision. We said, write down something that has to be true in the next 12 months and why, because you're going to figure out how later. Right now, you've got to know where you're going, where your team is going, or where you're going personally. Those are the 4 stops on the train so far. We're going through 3 more. And the next one is called attentive generosity. Here's the belief that giving, it always grows. Giving always grows. I love this one because if you have everything you need in the moment, you are someone else's abundance. Think back to that abundance conversation we had. If you have everything you need in the moment, maybe you're someone else's abundance. You're free to find out what others need. Is it true that it's better to give than receive? Gosh, I know we hear that a lot this time of day, but it is. there are psychological benefits that support giving. So they support this contentment mindset or this belief around generosity. Adding value to someone else, adding value to your team, finding a way to give and be generous with what you can adds value to other people, other places, other things that are going on, other projects. It always adds value that way. So looking for gaps is part of how you're always going to sort of be able to keep yourself here, looking for where there is need. But I have a question for you. I'm going to ask the question. I'll tell a little bit of my own story, and I'll be looking back over to the chat. Okay. So asking this question: what's the best immaterial or non-physical, non-material? What's the best immaterial gift you've ever received from a leader? The best immaterial gift you've ever received from a leader. Here's my story, and while I tell it, I would love for any of you to share your own examples in chat. I had a leader once, a company I started working at. I was encouraged to set up a leader with the owner of that organization right when I started. So I did. So you can imagine some nerves walking into that conversation. Okay, I want to make a really good first impression. The owner was not part of my interview process. So I got to sit down with the owner of this organization. And one of the first things they said to me, this is one of the best gifts that I've ever gotten from any leader, was this. They said, if you have something that you believe is good for this organization, this company, this team, if you believe in something, if you want something for your role, for this team, I want you to fight for it. That's what they said. They said, if you believe something is the right thing to do, if you want something for your role and job with this team, I want you to fight for it. Even if no one agrees with you, even if I don't agree with you, I expect you, I need you to fight for what you believe in, to fight for what you believe is best for this organization. What a powerful gift. That was one of the greatest. And I've had some great leaders and have some great leaders. What a wonderfully powerful gift. Taking a look over to the chat a little bit, words of praise, thanks that were timely, true, and sincere. Couldn't agree more. What powerful immaterial gifts leaders maybe have given in your life as well, certainly in these examples. Those are powerful, powerful gifts. And those were pretty generous gifts. Now, that meant a lot to me because it meant that I trust you. I believe in you. You've got to do it. Here's another one. Letting me know it was okay to fail and to learn from it. What a powerful gift. Thanks for sharing that, Jennifer and Michelle. So cool. So here's what I want you to go to your paper right now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to write down number 5 on the paper. I want you to think about your world, professional world, personal world. Think about every circle you exist in and think about the needs that you're aware of. This could take a moment more. Think about the needs that you know of in your world. Write down one need you know of and what you think you can give. One need you know of and what you think you can give. It might be an object. It might be a thing. I don't know. Maybe there's a school that needs a donation of something. Glue sticks. I'm not sure. It could be that. It could be another kind of object. Maybe it's a donation. Maybe it's financial. Maybe that's needed somewhere. Maybe the thing that's needed that you could give is information. Maybe information is needed. Maybe it's time or energy. We talked about time and energy a little bit ago on Decisive Vision. Maybe it's just time or energy that's needed. And maybe you could give that. Or maybe it's this. And I want to talk about this one just a little bit. Maybe it's attention. I believe attention is amongst the greatest gifts that can be given in today's world, society, in right now in the world. I think attention is not only one of the greatest gifts, I think it's one of the hardest gifts to give. I don't know if you agree. Attention with a purpose is what attentive generosity is all about. Looking for ways to constantly add to the circles you exist in, add to the people around you, the projects around you, the things happening around you. It's not only going to help you, it's going to help everyone around you. It's going to remove obstacles. So stretch the limits of your giving, whether it's an object, a donation, time, energy, information, attention, whatever it is. Stretch the limits of that giving and see what returns, see what comes back your way. How can a leader show this in a team? Have 3 things for every belief here. So here are the 3. I think a leader who can show this, and we heard this in some of the wonderful examples that were shared, they ask and actively listen for needs. Their ear is always perked up for needs. I want to hear about the needs of those around me, of the things going on around me. They hold regular one-on-ones. That's one of the ways that they listen best. They dig down and they really ask good questions in those one-on-ones to find what's needed within their team. And here's an interesting one. Something I've noticed as a member of the humanworks team and our work with clients, inviting a facilitator, inviting someone to come in and facilitate, say, a strategic planning meeting or another conversation or some training, frees up a leader of a team to dedicate their full attention and energy back onto the team instead of the pressure, the challenge of having to facilitate something else going on, a training, a conversation. Actually inviting someone else, either on the team or from outside, to come and facilitate something allows that leader to focus and hone in fully on what's going on with the team. What are people asking? What do they need? That can be a really powerful tactic that can help a leader be more attentive and open that opportunity for generosity. So you've written down 5 things, everybody. Let's go on to belief number 6, selfless connection. That's belief number 6. And the long version is building others builds all. I guess it's not that long after all. I have this belief around leadership that leaders create leaders. Leaders create leaders. That's one of the primary responsibilities of true leader. You know a true leader because that leader is building the next round of leaders. So providing, this is a little bit different than attentive generosity because it's so focused on the individual person, providing other people with the opportunity to rise to the occasion, seeking out ways to help and advance others. So my question to you is, what ways do you do that? What ways do people around you or your leader, how does your leader do that for you, I guess is really what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. And if you have any thoughts, I'd love to see them or hear them in chat. Again, I work with someone who does this really, really well. They give really, really good critical feedback. They're just so naturally good at being sort of an editor, being a critical eye to anything and everything, whether it's something being done live in person, whether it's something created, written, drafted. That leadership is so critical because that's how they help others get better. They add their critical eye. I remember going through an interview process and having to present something. And then afterwards, getting a critical response. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't. Here's what I would have done differently. I didn't understand this part. I think this is what you were going for. You could have tried this. That critique at first I thought, oh my gosh, I blew it. I didn't do a good job in this interview. But what it really was is, hey, this is how it is here. This is how I operate. Are you interested in being a part of that? This is how I add value. How do you add value? What a powerful position to have a leader in and to have leadership feedback that way. So to me, this is all around building trust as a foundation and it being about not me, but we. It's always about we. Here's what I want you to do on your paper, okay? On your paper, I want you to write a name of one person you believe you can help or support. One person you believe you can help or support, and one idea for how potentially you could help or support them, okay? One person's name and one idea about what you think it is you can do to help or support to make them stronger. So think of a name and think of what it is you can do. Write that as number 6 on your list. While you're doing it, here are a few thoughts for leadership teams in general. What can you do after everything? Make the learning greater than the experience. So I would say formally discuss learnings, maybe like a performance type review, but discuss what you've been learning at least once a quarter formally. It's so critical to do that. More frequently would be even better in every one-on-one. What have you been learning? What have your experiences taught you? This is another thing a leader can do. Delegate to elevate. It's not rocket science. You've probably heard it before, but give other people those opportunities to rise to the occasion. If I can give, I could do this myself, but can I give it to someone else to use their strengths to help them rise to the occasion and grow themselves and stretch their abilities? And certainly goes without saying, find ways to establish mentorship relationships. Maybe you're not the mentor leader. Maybe it's other members within the team. Make it part of your team culture. We're going to build everybody up. We're going to mentor others. So we're going to maybe create some more formalized mentor relationships. All right, so you've got 6 things on that piece of paper. I'm about to give you your 7th. It's coming next. And it's the last belief that builds a contentment ethic. This contentment ethic, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's all about your resilience in the moment, right? Your ability to be calm, confident, and resourceful in every moment you occupy. That's what a contentment ethic is. It's something that you do, not something you are. It's something you have to build, something you have to practice. And calm breathing has to be part of it. Now, that's what I call it, but here's another way to say it. The belief is the demands of this moment requires your response, not your reaction. So think about that. What's the difference between a response versus a reaction? Which one's thought through? Which one's more likely to be regrettable later? But which one's more thought through? Which one holds more wisdom? Maybe that's another way to say it. I lean into responding so much more. And one of my favorite quotes of all time takes me there. This quote is from Viktor Frankel. So Viktor Frankel was an Austrian neurologist, psychologist, and a Holocaust survivor. And this is what Viktor Frankel said. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Love, love, love that quote. And that's really the idea here, everybody. And let me break this down in a very simple way. Everybody needs to pause regularly to regain their focus. So I call that, you could call it calm breathing. I gave you this belief, but you need to do that. You need to review what you know. You need to assess how you feel about it. And you need to understand what your gut's telling you. You need to look at those three things. And it's so critical that you recognize this happens differently for everyone. So whatever picture came to your mind when I said calm breathing, I want you to eliminate any picture that doesn't match your way of doing it. What's your way of doing this? So if there's a picture in your mind right now that's like, yeah, I don't know, that's not really me, get rid of that picture then and tell me what your way of doing it is. Calm doesn't look the same, doesn't sound the same for every person. What is calm? Calm is a balanced, thoughtful, and unpanicked response. That's calm, a balanced, thoughtful, and unpanicked response. That's what we're looking for here, a response, not a knee-jerk reaction. So I have a question for you, and I would love to see, again, in the chat, I would love to see your thoughts. What helps you do this? What is the picture in your mind that helps you get that built, that calm, balanced, thoughtful response? What helps you recenter and go back to, okay, what do I really think about this? How do I really feel about this? What's my gut really telling me? What helps you get back to center that way? What is it? Put it in the chat. I've heard a lot of answers to this question. I'm always looking for new answers. They're always exciting to me when someone else has a way to do this that I haven't thought of. I can tell you what I often hear, and it could come up in chat, and that's okay. We'll be saying some of the same things because some of these are really true for me. What helps people get back to that refocus? Working out. Maybe that's on your list. Going and exercising. That's, for a lot of people, a way that they sort of get recentered. Some people say listening to music. Some people say I cook or I bake or I make food. I grill, I cook, I bake, I baste, I smoke meat. I smoke in my grill outside. I make food. That's what they do. Thanks, Jennifer. Looking at a picture of your family. Some people tell me pray and meditate. And some people say I just breathe. Maybe that's part of their meditation or prayer. They just breathe. In fact, the word breathe is one of my organization's core values. We made it part of our core values to get that in. That is meaningful to us. That's who we are. It's important. You've got to stop. Breathe. So however you do that, however you get back to center, that's what you've got to do. Think about that response, not that reaction. There are things that help you do that better. Gratitude's one of them, by the way. One thing we say at HumanWorks is that work and life are not mutually exclusive. You are you everywhere you go. And your well-being goes with you as well. So the way we look at well-being is through 4 pillars. So my first tip for a leader is around those 4 pillars. I've got to tell you what they are, though. The 4 pillars of well-being in our world are purpose, balance, nutrition, and movement. As far as looking at the whole picture of well-being. Purpose, balance, nutrition, and movement. Knowing your purpose, being able to live your purpose, being able to find that balance, breathe and find that response, recenter. What is the input for your physical body, your mind, and all your muscles? And how do you stay active and move? Whatever that is, that's sort of our holistic well-being picture for us. So I'd say every leader not only has to model those four pillars, they have to expect that from other people. They do. They have to expect that from other people. They have to model that well-being, promote that well-being, and encourage other people to do what they've got to do to get there, because it's different for everybody, like we talked about. Last but not least, I know this is a little thing, but it bears repeating, and it's been a big part of the conversation in the world recently. It's this idea of taking time away, taking time off. You know, I said time away when we first started around bad words. I don't want that to be a bad word. Taking time off, taking vacation should be celebrated. Modeling that time off is an important thing for a leader to do. You need to do it and separate yourself and get back to balance however you need to do. So celebrating modeling time off is here too. What are you going to put on your paper? Well, this is the fun part, everybody. The last thing you're going to put on your list is actually a date and a time. Pull up your phone, pull up your calendar, pull up Outlook, pull up Google. I actually want you to make an appointment with yourself right now, today. Make an appointment with yourself. Literally put it on your calendar. 15 minutes minimum. 15 minutes minimum, everybody. Make an appointment with yourself. And what are you going to do during that appointment? You are going to take a quick pause to recenter. Go back to that response mindset. Go back to gratitude. What am I thinking about it? What am I feeling? And what's my gut telling me? That's what you're going to do during that 15-minute minimum. It could be, I'm going to work out. I'm going to listen to music. I'm going to go make some food. I'm just going to meditate, pray, or just breathe, whatever it is. Schedule it. What are you going to put on your piece of paper? Just the date and time. Remind yourself, when is my appointment with myself? Those are the 7 beliefs. The 7 beliefs that build a contentment ethic. So, grateful expression, undiscovered abundance, all the way through the list, everybody. Those are the 7 beliefs that really build up to this understanding, this truth, the lesson that says you are equipped for the present moment. Remember, a contentment ethic is all about how you exist, how you manage this moment. All the people, all the demands, all the expectations in this moment, you're equipped for that. You've got that. What's going to help you is practicing these 7 beliefs, building these things into your world. It's going to help you navigate all those moments with more calm confidence, more calm, resourceful confidence, if you've built a practice around doing these 7 things every single day. So when you experience firestorms, tidal waves, I hear a lot of leaders say things like, I've been putting out fires all day, or I am completely underwater with everything that I need to do. I'm hearing about firestorms and tidal waves. That's what I'm hearing about. Having a contentment ethic doesn't make those disappear. It makes you stronger in the moment as a leader while you navigate them. Why? Number 1, this is a get to, not a have to. Number 2, we have enough to deal with the moment. Look around. Let's find out. What can we do? Not just me, the others around me. We've got what we need right now. There's an abundance around us. We know how we handle these situations. We certainly know how we run a meeting and share information. We've got some consistency built into our world. So this is how we deal with problems when they come up. Let's handle it. And by the way, as we make these decisions, what's the vision? Remember our vision, everybody. Don't lose sight of that, because it's going to guide how we decide, what we decide to do as we deal with these tidal waves and firestorms. And how can I give to this? What can I give? And everybody else, think that way. What can you give to this? Where's your energy? And through this whole thing, guess what, everybody? We're all going to get stronger. And I'm going to make sure you do. We're going to learn from this. I'm going to try to put you in a strong position. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have a powerful response. Let's pause. Let's think. Let's breathe. I'd rather have a powerful response to what's going on in our world than just react, a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, so let's figure it out. That, to me, is a leader dealing with their contentment ethic, or displaying their contentment ethic as they go through a firestorm or a tidal wave. So I promised a new picture, and that's really what it's all about. What do we need from our leaders? What would be if we could all get this from our leaders? Wouldn't calm, confident, resourceful sort of leadership in every moment, wouldn't that be helpful for every team, from every leader? I think incorporating those beliefs can help you get there. I really do. So the next time you're in a meeting, or you're at work, you're interacting with other people, I want you to notice when gratitude being expressed, or when there's real curiosity being displayed. I want you to watch for that. When somebody's really curious or offering some gratitude, how do things change, right? How do people get relieved when there's some consistency, okay? When they know what they can trust and lean on. Look for the relief that comes. When you're going through those difficult moments, watch what happens when a clear vision saves time and energy. Watch for it, because it's going to happen. If you've got a leader doing that, or if you're the one doing it, you're going to save time and energy. And how quickly people react sort of differently when someone's being generous or selfless and how they're handling a situation, or simply what changes when someone just pauses and breathes and offers a measured, sort of patient, calm response that way. Watch how different that is. So I don't know if you're in person. I don't know if you're sitting behind a computer screen. It works from every direction, everybody. If there are people involved, it works. But one question you may be asking yourself is, okay, how do I remember these 7 things? How do I get a longer list of examples to practice or things to think about that maybe I can make it my own? I have something for you. So that's something that's actually going to get thrown out there in chat now. It's a landing page from HumanWorks, but it's going to link you to a bunch of resources. On the top, though, is something called the Contentment Survey. So that's a survey you could take. It's a snapshot in time, right? Because think of contentment. Really having a contentment ethic. I said it's something you could do. It's not something you are. It's something you have to practice. It's an ability, a quality you're going to build. It's also a lot like things like humility, things like patience. It's never done. You never complete. You never arrive. It's about the journey. It's about this ongoing, how am I doing right now? So this survey is about asking yourself some questions, answering some questions. You could use this for yourself. You could use it with a team if you lead a team. It's about saying, where are we right now? How are you doing right now with exercising these sort of 7 beliefs? Are they part of your world right now? It allows you to ask those questions. It also gives you an opportunity to look at ways to build some more of those beliefs up into the way you work, into your way of operating, to go back to one of those beliefs. And there, by the way, those are my tidal waves and firestorms. I like that graphic. I built that graphic just around this idea, just because, hey, that's what we're overcoming. We're sort of getting them all wrapped up under control and learning how to deal with that in that calm, confident way. So you can put some energy towards this contentment survey as you please. And as you look at that landing page, which landed in the chat there, thanks so much, Andy. As you look at that, certainly feel free to look at the other. You can connect with me if you have questions, want to hear more about it. There's some other great resources. We mentioned a few things like Colby along the way. You can check those out too. Last but not least, I want to leave you with a question. That's how I want to sort of end our conversation today. I asked this question once really quick when we were setting up what is a contentment ethic. So now I want to leave it here for you to think about. What would change about your thinking and actions? How would those things change if you knew you had everything you needed? So if you really knew that, you believed it, I have everything I need. I am truly equipped to navigate the here and now. There's more than enough. What can I turn around and give? How would that change you, your thinking, your actions? Take that question with you, and by all means, take the 7 things you wrote down on that piece of paper and so you can start building and practicing your own contentment ethic today. With that sort of final question, I just want to give you my gratitude for the opportunity to come share these ideas with you. Thanks for that. I really appreciate the opportunity. And also, thanks DreamBank and Andy for having me on and having me here to chat.
Thank you so much for that, AJ. Now would be the opportunity, if you had any questions for AJ, to go ahead and get those in the chat. I know that there was a lot of ground that was covered there. I know I myself am excited to dig into that survey as well. Again, I want to thank everyone who took time out of the day to join us here. I also wanted to go ahead and post in the comments a link to our website with all of our upcoming events. December's a little bit lighter of a month in terms of the overall offerings, just with the holidays and everything coming up. But with that being said, we have a ton of great stuff coming up in January and February. AJ, as we wrap up, I always like to ask our speakers, what is one piece of advice you have for someone who is pursuing a dream right now?
I love it. So I guess I'll go back to part of the contentment ethic. I just think that undiscovered abundance belief is really, really critical for anyone pursuing a dream right now. So remember, there's a lot more around you. You're surrounded by maybe things you haven't found yet, maybe people you haven't asked that question yet. So go back to that belief about I am surrounded. There's more than enough here. You're equipped for the present moment. Get curious, get resourceful, and start building your day around questions. That to me was just, that's where I would go first.
Love it. Thank you so much, AJ. It doesn't look like there's any questions that have come in. We will go ahead and cap it there. Thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you, AJ, for putting this together. We will see you all next time.